like this. I don't know. I mean, do we want to consider this starting?
Yeah, we can just go ahead and start. Hello, this is Modular Components, a podcast where we do a lot of variety of things. I'm your host, Boingo and Gaston, and with me is a modular co-host, Buster Core. Say hello, Buster.
Hi, Vac's not here, and I'm scared.
It's fine. It's fine. We can do this without him. It's not like he normally hosts this thing. But today we do have some special guests. We're going to talk to them about the project that they are doing, that we have been using for a while on our podcast production pipeline. I guess I don't know. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
So I'm CoolGuy. I am one of the new primary maintainers of the Craig bot.
Oh, I'm Snazzah. I'm the other primary maintainer of it. Pretty much developing most of the stuff right now.
Yeah, I handle a lot of the backend, the sysadmin type stuff. We actually recently just took the project over. Weasel, who is the original creator of this project, has recently decided he wanted to step down. And after a vicious interview process and fight to the death with another team that was interested, we came out on top as Weasel calls it, the new what was it, Overlords?
Overlords, yeah.
Hell yeah! I mean, if you're fighting to the bloody death, yeah, you're an Overlord now, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, out of there were really only two I guess teams, right? Two pairs of people that had even reached out that were like, yeah, I want to do this. And our skill sets kind of complemented each other. It was just the methodology of how we were going to move forward that Yahweh was like, well, I like this better, so they got it.
Fair enough. And for people who are not completely aware, the Craig bot is, at least for us, the people who have been using it, it's a Discord bot. You bring it into a voice chat and it will record everybody's audio into separate channels, and then you can edit it what you want. That's just how we've been using it. There's probably a lot more on the back end that you guys are aware of that we as mere plebeians are not able to speak the language of the gods.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, that's pretty much it, though, right? That's the that's what the application is. It's a multi-track Discord recording bot, and Yahweasel actually still maintains another piece of it, which is used here. It's a donator feature called the Craig web app, and that is called on WeCaster. And on WeCaster is actually a fully fledged separate project that he does still maintain. Patrons who are signed up that I guess X amount of time ago are actually eligible to get like a free on WeCaster subscription, but it's a separate service that's based in the browser rather than Discord. Craig actually has a web app set up. It's to basically have it as a backup stream, but
Stream to have higher quality than what's in Discord.
Yes.
Fair enough. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like for very much what we've just been focusing on. It's just like how it helps us. But you guys are working on the project itself, on how it works and everything. And that's more what I was saying. And you're coming into the project. You're trying to, as you were saying before we started recording, reorganize it so you know where you kind of stand.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like with the Discord specifically, compared to how I've ran Discords before and how another project me and Snazzah manage, how we have it organized. If you've ever been in the Craig Discord, it's very minimalistic. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely an attractiveness to that. I'm not looking through 20 different channels trying to figure out where should I post this specific help question. And it's very nice in that regard, but we're expanding a little bit on the back end of the Discord, of the community side of things, and then on top of that, there's a rewrite of the bot itself actually in process. I don't know if you guys have seen it since we've pushed the update, but the download page has actually been completely redesigned. It looks a lot nicer now. It includes a lot more information. It's a bit more human readable. So that kind of stuff has been taken into account, and we've already been making steps forward. Slash commands was a huge thing that we just released, and it was actually kind of part of the interview process, if you will, when we were kind of like in training to take over. So this is before any of the transfer of like ownership and transfer of assets actually took place.
Kind of like an audition process, like what can you do, and here you go, or more of like what's the thing you want to implement.
It was one of those. This is one of the major problems. Fix it.
Oh, do this work for
a major problem. Yeah, it is a bit of a time sensitive since it's up until I think the end of April is when slash commands are enforced. So that was kind of like the main issues that needed to be fixed and was high on the priority.
Nice. Well, we've been enjoying this thing, and I'm looking forward to any cool improvements you guys are planning on doing, wanting to do, all that kind of jazz. Yeah. Hey, Buster, you got any questions?
Not yet, but like, yeah. But yeah, very just interesting story you're telling.
Yeah. I had more earlier. I should have wrote them down.
So one of the things was, I think you asked kind of like, how about this one? What the future of Craig is going to look like?
Yeah, that's something I'm curious about.
We were kind of tiptoeing around it. I didn't want to go into too much detail before the recording. So as I mentioned, we kind of have a prelude of things that we're trying to set up before we really release anything publicly. But as kind of a sneak preview, we do have features lined up, both for new Patreon features and as well as just actual public features to be implemented. A few of them kind of because Yahweasel didn't implement it intentionally for certain reasons, which I do respect and even agree with, but don't want to be that restrictive. And other things for like just better overall quality of life, like redoing the site and things like that.
Yeah, that's in progress.
The site's always been like not necessarily a huge issue for me. I've been able to navigate it, but for our other co-host who wasn't able to be here tonight, Vac, he's had issues every once in a while of just like him not being able to download the files, and then he'll just text me and go like, "Hey, can you just download it?" And I'll drop it in a Google Drive for him to edit. So
yeah, the biggest
that's the part the download pages reworked, but not the main like website wherever the information is, and the Drive integration as well.
Yeah, basically, Craig.horse it just got a complete overhaul last week. Craig.chat, which is like the home page that you would go to kind of read up about the bot, about how to join this Discord and all that good stuff. That's kind of what's kind of next on our agenda. We're going to be rewriting that in a different framework that's a little bit more scalable. We actually run one of the other projects we run. We use
ViewPress.
Thank you, ViewPress, and it's nice because it's a very nice looking framework. It's more of a documentation site type style, but it's very extensible. So you can add a whole bunch of features that just overall makes the site friendlier to use. That's one of the things that we're going to be implementing. Kind of get a little bit more attention to the GitHub as well. That's one thing that with this project, there was nobody else really helping him maintain it. There had only been a handful of people who had made commits to the repo aside from Yahweasel prior to this point.
Being like contribution to the code in the bot.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we're hoping we can get a little bit more traffic inspired. Another piece of it was the translations. We've actually implemented a new system for translations that to start are live on Craig.horse for the download page. So anybody who's interested, we put out the announcement, reach out to us if you know any other languages and you want to help maintain it, we'll get you added to the system. And it's just an online translation website where you can see what the string is in English, you can type in what it is in whatever language you're translating it to, and then that kind of stuff is synced up to the bot. So there's no download this text file and then send it back to me. Everything can kind of be tracked, and overall it's a lot easier to interact with too. So that was one of the things Yahweasel had told us about he did do, and then they kind of lost interest and they dropped off, so he didn't care too much about it. But we know that this bot is used all over the world.
It is such a useful bot because before we found the bot, when we were recording a podcast, we would literally just both open up Audacity, sync it up 1, 2, 3, clap, and then have to go in after the fact and try and line everything up. But this makes everything totally easier. It's great.
Yeah, and there is another bot that exists called Pawa. That's kind of our sister bot. And the difference between Craig and Pawa is a single track recording. It'll export that single track wave for you with nothing, like no other tracks. You don't have any flexibility. And this is nothing against that bot either. That's literally the functionality of it. And people who try and do the same thing with Craig, he always basically said, this isn't what you're supposed to use the bot for. Here, go use Pawa.
Yeah.
Craig's nice because you can literally edit all the tracks individually as needed.
Yeah. And my experience is, I'm much more artsy-fartsy. I'm not a technical guy. I did theater, so I was the audio guy in theater. So I like to go through the audio and go like, okay, this one's the quiet, bump it up, EQ each track.
This one's got a lot of background noise when he's not supposed to be talking.
Exactly, little things like that. Let's make this feel more like a conversation with people around the room. Let's spread it out a little bit into stereo, and I really enjoyed that. It's like it's a really good, because it just basically gives you everything. It's a really good canvas to just edit on top of,
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely useful in that regard. It's one of the reasons that we use the bot in like other projects that I do.
I mean, again, I'm coming from a content creator perspective and not like a programmer. I genuinely think any content creator should have this on their servers, just because they can always just make a podcast with whoever wants to be in there,
Right, and we are continuously growing too. Actually getting a chance to look at the back end statistics. I think Craig is currently in. Well, there are some live stats, right? But Craig's in statistics. I think Craig is currently in. Well, there are some live stats, right? But Craig's in over 60,000 servers.
Yeah,
that's good.
And those are 60,000 active servers.
Yeah, because Craig still has this function that leaves a server if it's not used for 2 months. These 60,000 servers use it at least once a week or once a month. So they're not dead servers that invited it, haven't used it in a year or 2 years. So, just having that metric alone, it's amazing to see how much it's used. I mean, even right now, there's currently 43 different recordings going on right now with serving over 180 users.
Hell yeah.
Including us.
Yeah. Including this little podcast.
It's been like 2.9 million recordings overall.
That's a wide scope of the project. Have you worked on projects with this big a scope before? Is this old hat for you guys, or is this like a brand new big project? It's really something you want to grab your teeth into kind of thing?
It's kind of like that. Me and CoolGuy have worked on a different bot that manages Trello boards, and it's gotten about 6,000 servers. So within scale, it's kind of something we could look into, but it is a big project, compared to the one we're doing right now. But it's something we want to definitely sink our teeth into and help develop and have it be more stable and have more features and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not a completely new experience, but there are like Snazzah was kind of saying, there are aspects of it that we haven't had to consider yet, because the difference between Taco, which is the other bot that we work on for Trello boards, having to manage 6,000 guilds, 6,200 to be a little more accurate, versus 60,000. I mean, you're literally looking at a magnitude of 10. So
with something like a Discord bot, would that many people? I just bumped my mic. Would that many people result in more problems that could happen, or with Discord bot, it's not? I'm just more asking, like, on the production side, on how does working on a Discord bot happen?
So there's a lot of BS from Discord that happens in the middle of it, but the way that we, like you and I and Snazzah, talk to each other through Discord isn't the same that the bots have to connect. So there's a lot of and this is something that Yahweasel had kind of explained to it. There's a lot of, ironically enough, guesswork that's done in how to properly decode the information, and definitely the amount of users that we're serving and the amount of servers that are currently active scale that effect.
So it goes from like trying to guess a 1-inch square to go into trying to guess a mile-wide square of problems.
The difference, or rather the chance of an issue occurring in a smaller recording like this for maybe an hour is a lot less than a 10-person channel for 3 hours. Recording some big D&D session or something, right? So, the longer that it's recording, the more chance that it has for Discord to send some stupid data and cause the bot to disconnect. And that's been a lot of the bigger issues that we've been seeing lately. And a lot of the updates we've been pushing to the bot some of them have been bug fix related, but a large piece of it has been just actually giving us the visibility to see when it's happening in as close to real time as possible. The more that we can detect it without a user reporting it, the better we can respond when they do finally notice it and say, hey, there's something going on here.
That's cool. Is it just because Discord just has weird policies regarding that thing that it's that hard to deal with?
It's because Discord doesn't know how to scale, if you want my true opinion. The common joke between me and a couple other friends is always that, why is Discord acting like this? Because the API is always on fire. It has been since, 2018. Snaz, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Discord wasn't meant to have these many users that it has right now, and it hasn't been able to keep up.
It's not really that. It's just that the way the APIs scale.
It was built differently.
It's not exactly stable.
Yeah, it was built a certain way, and the amount of users, because this doesn't necessarily reflect on true users, this is more bots, but the way and the functionality of the bots has increased and grown so quickly. There's a difference between Discord focusing on new features for the API, which correlate to features they release for the client, right? Stage channels being one of the newer ones. Scheduled events is one that's still being implemented in some of the libraries that me and Snazzah were ironically just talking about before this.
Oh yeah.
These features that have been released to the client are basically undocumented on the APIs until they release some sort of official, this is how you're supposed to interact with it. The problem is they keep releasing new features, but there are still pieces of the API itself that are unstable. So, where they're understaffed basically, because what's the focus? Stability or keeping the bots up to with the newest feature so that they can utilize it? And that question can kind of be weighed on that scale, and it goes back and forth. When stability gets so bad that they have to push a release, a fix, then they finally get to it. But until then, we're basically trying to juggle with what they're sending and hope that it's correct.
It's like having a car engine with a tiny little oil leak and you just slap a turbo on it. I like making metaphors. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, yeah, to a degree, right? That's really what it is. You slapped a turbo onto a 4-cylinder, and you're trying to give it the power of like a V8
without giving it the underlying stability that it needs.
Right, yeah, the whole frame is basically shaking apart. And it's not just our bot that runs into these issues. You see these types of issues with some of the bigger music bots, and those kind of work the other way around. And that's the biggest piece here is that, we're not outputting audio from the bot, we're taking it in. So, the system that's in place for that, from what I understand, is almost completely undocumented.
I think voice in itself is an undocumented feature, excluding a couple of tidbits, but they don't really give out that much information. So for music bots, of course, maybe unstable. Rhythm kind of died, but when music bots, they're still being used to send data rather than receive it. We have to actually look at the data and make sure it's valid so we can, transcode it into different formats. And Discord doesn't always send the right data, or sometimes just sends junk to Craig, and we have to mitigate that. And
one of the biggest things Yahweasel complained about was just generally Discord. But what we learned when we took the project over was why. why Discord was the scapegoat. Discord's not the scapegoat, it really is just the cause.
Mm.
And a lot of this is, there are standards that exist in professional audio. You know, there are standards with OGG and with MPEG and
different formats.
Because
Yeah,
all these
and
companies
Opus.
who wanted to make these software and products just went like, we're gonna MIDI's a standard because everybody focuses on the same kind of MIDI.
Well, the two here with Discord is Opus and OGG.
Mhm.
Right? Those are the two standards that we're working with. The issue really arises when Discord doesn't follow the standards. And that's where a lot of the breaking bugs come into the bot. You know, the bot receives some packet of information that doesn't correlate to what's supposed to be getting sent. So now in order to fix it, you know, we are writing band-aids to accommodate for Discord's bad data that may not always be sent. And that's a lot of what was in some of the code now, a lot of the C code that's being used on the servers to process that data.
And that's just always going to be kind of an ongoing issue until like Discord fixes its stability issues.
Discord needs to change how their entire voice like endpoints for the bots is set up, because the way that the bots have to connect in general is kind of stupid. Because the way we connect is different than the way the bots connect.
Mm.
You know, we connect to a
WebSocket.
Yeah, well, not even just a WebSocket, but it's a
There's a lot of more technical terms for this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what WebRTC. That's what it is, right? We connect to a WebRTC, right, endpoint. The bots do not. They connect through like 3 layers of some convoluted socket that basically just gets hit with pure data, and that's one of the biggest like initial barriers that had to have been overcome.
I'm not a programmer kind of guy. That just sounds like a needlessly complicated way of doing it. Does it have to be that complicated, or is it just band-aid on band-aid on band-aid, resulting in you having to make more band-aids?
About that, yeah. Discord isn't really using standards like they should. You know, with all the formats like I don't know, FLAC has its own like format, and that has a standard, and it shows like how this data is structured, right? So that type of standard isn't being respected by Discord, and we have to sometimes mitigate away from that, or mitigate and make sure that's still working. So literally everything, so the audio, you know, works for you and works in your audio programs.
Gotta love a jerry rig.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does sound like you guys have. Would you say it's a headache? Is it just like this a common thing you have to deal with programming things like this?
Well, Yaweasel did a lot of the legwork, right? Getting the bot to the point that it is now.
Right.
I mean, generally, Craig is stable. The problem is that it could break any day with some undocumented, unannounced change from Discord. So I guess it'd be a continuing challenge, right? Some days we don't have to worry about it, but we could at any moment.
We'd have to be there putting out the fires, as you put it.
Mm. All the while also trying to make the new features that users want to have and all that kind of. I do not envy you guys. I am very thankful for you guys and anybody else who comes onto the project, but like I do not envy you.
Well, ironically enough, those types of new features aren't the hard part, at least in comparison to the audio pieces of it. The audio processing and Discord audio side of Craig is the most challenging, and that is the headache. That is, you know, the piece to be envious about. But like in comparison, you know, adding a new function for like a new way to add triggers, right? I won't go into more detail on that, but that's one of the upcoming general availability features. You know, something like that isn't as hard as dealing with the audio processing. So, you know, in the interim, we're kind of covered in that regard. But you know, the biggest challenge right now is for Snazzah is the complete rewrite of the bot. You know, there's a lot of pieces of the bot that need to be optimized, and there's some issues that have arisen in the chat that, you know, until this rewrite is done, you know, that's kind of the opinion as well. You know, is it because the bot was written in a certain way? and it needs to be updated still, or is this a Discord problem? We don't know yet.
Well, the way it's structured, we don't have clear visibility on what goes on with the bot, and we've been trying to make that clear by making like code rewrites, and we just want a clear overview so we know what we should do next in terms of features and maintenance.
And unfortunately, that's kind of the case in any type of project where somebody's taking over. And in the case of, like with me and Snazzah, in Snazzah more specifically, because he's the one doing a lot more work on the code aspect, this wasn't his code originally. So the mentality into how it was written isn't there. And we've gotten a bit of insight from that as we were kind of doing our training with Yaweasel. But in the end, Yaweasel wrote this code with a specific mindset as he wrote it. Snazzah doesn't.
This was written in, I think, in 5 years ago.
And some of the code's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Dang. This is me speaking more as like a person who doesn't really know programming a ton. Is code like that need to be regularly rewritten with new advancements on whatever thing you're doing in a more general sense?
There is always security vulnerabilities that come out in that regard, right? But so realistically, there is code that should always be to a degree updated. The biggest piece here is that it also depends on the language. In this case, a large majority of the Discord side of the Craigbot is written in a language called Node.js. Node.js is a language that is continually evolving. So using older standards is fine, but they're basically always optimizing, creating better ways to write up, snippets of code, and you don't have to rewrite it until they basically get rid of that feature, right? So Yaweasel's been, he was a very, very knowledgeable programmer, so he wrote things in a way that he did a lot of that heavy legwork himself. And while that's okay, there have been more optimized ways to handle some of those functions.
So it's more of like implementing those easy shortcuts to make everything move faster.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
That's definitely one way to look at it. Because there's without getting into like too technical of a detail of it, that's mostly just been with the actual language of JavaScript itself evolving over the years. And the same thing can be said for other things like Java, right? There have been updates to Java between Java 8 through Java 11 to now we're on Java 17, right? I don't know if you guys play Minecraft. Now you actually have to run the newer versions of Java to run the new Minecraft versions. So, just that, even that as an example, there are things that you can call in the code, in the native Java code that's available that wasn't, 5 years ago.
So here's a thought. Is there any other like kind of projects you guys have been working on? Because you say you work on a couple different projects that you kind of want to talk about. That's just something interesting you thought about.
So me personally, as we mentioned, me and Snazzah both work on another project from this, and that's called Taco. Taco is a bot that's meant to be used in conjunction with a project management website called Trello. It basically creates a bridge between their website and Discord. So and you'll see this in the Craig Discord in the coming weeks as well, because when we do publish the roadmap, that channel will be publicly available, and when we make changes to it as we complete items, those changes are actually pushed to Discord so that people can see the changes. That's actually the first project that we worked on together.
That's cool.
With me personally, I'm involved in so many things it's not even funny. I run an internet radio station called Hive 365. I'm on the board of a nonprofit group called the Library Foundation, and that's kind of like representing the community of a blockchain content sharing platform.
Library. That's LBRY?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I've used it every once in a while. I was thinking of uploading stuff there a bit ago, but just kind of like it got away from me in terms of like thoughts of things to do.
Yeah, Library is a beast of its own. That's a conversation for its own episode, but with what I do is generally just, same thing here, right? Tech side of things. I manage the servers and stuff like that, but I'm on the board that that makes the decisions for the community. Now, I don't do anything with active development. That's actually not even our company. That's Library Inc. But we kind of work in conjunction with them for certain projects and little things that we're trying to do. But yeah, it's actually cool that you know about Library. That's awesome. It's not
that's mostly because like there was a brief moment in time a couple of years ago. I was watching content creators like the Linux Gamer and other people who on YouTube who talk about the Linux in a general sense, just because I was interested and curious. But I vastly, I do not have the technical know-how to run it in a daily sense, so I kind of don't. But I am always fascinated on open source projects and just that side of programming kind of things, just in all these people coming together and making these kind of projects just cooperatively.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit of an easier interface for Library, there's a website called Odyssey, Odyssee. And that's kind of like a front end. They are now technically a separate entity, but the website, the idea, and everything spawned from Library itself. And their goal was to basically be the better alternative YouTube. So if you were just looking for a website side of things to access everything and get content rewards and be able to live stream and all the good stuff, it's a lot of centralized features on top of the decentralized core. That's the website to check out.
Yeah. I've been meaning to put my individual content there and that kind of stuff, just so I have like a backup in case YouTube decides to pull a wacky on me,
Right, and that's what I recommend to all content creators that I actually have some sort of direct contact to. Is like, hey, if you haven't checked this out, this isn't a shill. Back your stuff up here. I've seen content creators that have had copyright strikes made that just weren't even accurate. It's like, literally the whole channel is nothing but parody. And they upload a parody and a parody gets taken down. It's like, but it's literally this, it's like, do you really want to? And the one example was Meat Canyon is a content creator I follow.
Oh, is it Wabbit season?
Yeah, it's Wabbit season.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
There was also the situation with he's an anime content creator, Totally Not Mark.
Yeah, that's it.
He was reviewing One Piece, so he used clips of One Piece to show his examples, and Toei was like, haha, fuck you.
Which is so sad, because you look at you look at things like Hellsing Abridged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Toei Animation never really caused issues with Team 4-Star like that. Don't get me wrong, it was a complete parody. But if they're gonna get uppity on a review like that, you'd think that they would be a little bit more aggressive generally. So it's surprising me to hear that. I don't follow that kind of stuff, so I actually didn't know about that.
Yeah, he got the situation handled because I think the way YouTube is, giant air quotes, solving it is because the problem is Japan has a different fair use law than America does, which their fair use law is there is no fair use. If the IP holder dislikes what you're doing, they can just shut you down. It doesn't matter if it's parody, doesn't matter if it's critique. If they don't like it, fuck you. So Americans or people with similar fair use laws talking about Japanese media work under American fair use mindset are getting hit by Japanese law. So YouTube's just going like, all right, we'll just not air that content in Japan.
Which, that's fair. To be honest, that's fair.
Yeah. It just feels like as a person who makes things in that kind of artistic sense, it just feels like a giant band-aid on a situation of just international copyright law that's gotten way out of hand thanks to a fucking mouse.
I mean, yeah, and it has, right? The whole situation has gotten out of hand, and it's been like on this track for years, right? Mm-hmm. But honestly, and at least from my perspective, I don't see a good way to fix it.
The only way to fix it is to burn it all down to the ground, but that's not really a solution.
Well, I'm glad that at least that was your solution instead of I don't know. There are some people I know that would actually just say, well, how about NFTs are the solution?
No.
I kind of want to smack them when they say that.
I don't even know a ton about programming, and just I can read and understand what an NFT is. I'm just going like, buddies, that's like buying an art print with just a certificate of authenticity. You're not buying the print, you're buying the certificate. That's all you're doing.
It's just
Yeah.
Yeah, there was this. Let's see here. There was this Twitter post about what an NFT was, and it described it perfectly. It was something. It was stupid too, but that was the point. And it was like, an NFT is like buying the rights to the Mona Lisa, but only on this specific platform. And if you want to go claim the rights to the Mona Lisa and go take it from the museum it's in, you go there and you show them that you have the rights to it, and then they're gonna look at you and smack the shit out of you and tell you to go home. And if you're still confused about what an NFT is, good, then you read this correctly and you understand what an NFT is. Because it's just absolute nonsense.
Like, because here's the thing, blockchain stuff and like cryptocurrency, there's a reason behind it. I think a lot of people misuse it because they're not using cryptocurrencies as currency, they're using it as stocks. And from everything I've seen, that's not how you're supposed to use it. It's just money. You're supposed to exchange it with people.
Mm-hmm.
But NFTs are just like, why?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, it also depends on what the blockchain is for, and library is a good example of it. You've got this platform that's blockchain based, but the reason for the blockchain is not to make money, albeit people do, right? Which is the reason why they're currently in an SEC case. But the point of that network wasn't to make money. The point of that blockchain was to have a decentralized location or a decentralized place to host content, right? Or rather to point content, so that, because the whole reason of it is it's against censorship, it's against
unilateral control.
Exactly. So Odyssey, being a centralized solution, is still built on the decentralized platform. Take Odyssey down, library still exists. Take Library Inc. down, development might slow down, but library still exists. The blockchain is still a thing.
But if you take YouTube down, Alphabet Inc. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Alphabet Inc. can pull the same shit that they've been pulling with projects for the past 20 years and just, we're done with YouTube. Canceled, right? At work, when we were deciding what mail system to move to, because we went from a self-hosted to a cloud-based, right? We just had too much data to have locally. And literally, I was like, well, what are your thoughts on G Suite? My boss actually straight up he says, we will never switch to a Google product because Google has the tendency to get bored with a product and just on a whim end it. And we are not migrating this shit again. So we went with Office 0365 because, it's there. It's not going away. When you talk about the endpoints to get to Outlook Web, you have like 4 of them between Live.com, MSN, Hotmail, and then outright Outlook. Like, when you think of all the mail platforms that Microsoft has owned over the years and consolidated into this one ginormous web app, they're not getting rid of it.
Microsoft has a problem of getting rid of things. Like, there's still stuff from the DOS days that are still in Windows, isn't there?
Oh, I'm sure there's a component or two.
But I don't know. And again, I'm always thinking of it from like a very, I wouldn't say average, because I'm interested in these kind of concepts, and I like to understand the very vague greater scope of these things, but I'm coming from like a pretty average user experience kind of thing. So I'm coming at these things not knowing how maybe 95, 96% of the back-end stuff works, and just kind of, I don't know, throwing daggers in the dark, hoping that I don't do something stupid.
Well, I mean, generally, just being cognizant of your actions means you'll be pretty all right.
Yeah, but it's little things like that. Just because technology has gotten, like, computers themselves over the past 30 years have gotten to the point where it takes a lot of interest and dedication to know how everything works. Because I watch people who talk about like old 8-bit systems like Commodores and Ataris and explain it and go like, okay, all of that makes logistical sense. And then it's just the scale of contemporary stuff kind of goes over a lot of people's heads, and just general technology kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, right? That's almost where you get the mentality though of master of all, king of none. Or sorry, I kind of butchered that phrase. It's jack of all trades, master of none, right? And that's where, at least with my personal professions, I have a lot of these side projects that I do, yeah, right? But there's a generalized theme of it all and that's, for the most part, my role in each of these, aside from my own businesses, is, I stick more to the systems end of things. My full-time job is I'm a systems administrator. I work mostly on Linux. I do that stuff every day. It's what I make my living on. With the projects, like even Craig, although I am, more on a project lead, me and Snazzah both work very well together in the sense that kind of piece of it we do share to a degree. But I am the responsible point of contact when it comes to shit hitting the fan. Somebody needs a finger to point to, or a finger to point to for blame. It's pointed at me.
You're the face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. But in the end, as the technical side of things, I still handle the systems. A lot of our error reporting and everything like that, I handle that. Snazzah's more on the development, and it works, right? And that's kind of what I've kind of done to specialize where, my skill set. I still know a little bit of development. I still know a little bit of a whole bunch of other stuff. But generally, I stay in my lane.
Yeah. There's just and this is more just coming from me, and I understand what you're saying, and I get it completely. It's just more of like, I'm an artist. I'm an artist kind of person. I make music. I try to be an entertainer and all that kind of stuff. And there is a level of like, it's not frustration. It's just more of like, I want to know how something works just so I can actually use it right. And because like you make a painting, you know how a brush works, you know how a canvas works, but you try to like upload a podcast and you have to figure out all these little things to make sure everything gets done right, so it gets posted on the places right, that kind of thing. Yeah,
but that kind of curiosity is a good thing, right?
Oh yeah, no,
that's the kind of thing that spurs, self-development. To always improve yourself in some way. You want to know how this works because you're improving your knowledge. So that's always a great thing to be able to do and have that kind of drive.
Like me and Vac, who's not here tonight. We've said that several times. We decided to make a little dumb fan visual novel video game thing for a little joke once. So I used Rinpei, which is a visual novel engine using Python code, and so I just I did the equivalent of a dog learning some English commands just to get what they want. So I know what to do with Python in that very specific instance to get what I want, but I know nothing about Python.
Well, and that's the thing about Rinpei.
It's still good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, if it comes to programming in general, I usually recommend Python as a good starting language. Because generally, as far as syntax and
it does use a lot
layout,
it's kind of like
it's very human readable.
Yeah.
Even the college I went to, that was the first class I took was Python.
Well, we've talked a lot of technicals. What was that, Snazzah?
I said I also took my Python classes starting for my degree.
Well, it's been a lot of technical stuff. So why don't we just kind of like lighten everything up? How have you guys been, just in a general sense? Been good?
Yeah.
Busy as fuck. In the simplest terms, that kind of sums up my weeks.
Damn.
I mentioned a few of the projects I work on, but like my full time, the generalized thing of it is Monday through Friday work. Got that 8 to 5 job, and I don't work remote, so I do go into an office. And then after that, it depends. Sometimes I'm doing stuff with Craig. Sometimes I'm doing stuff with the radio station. I'm always busy, and if it's not that, it's spending time with my girlfriend.
Oh yeah, always got to spend time for love, self-fulfillment, and all that kind of stuff.
Especially on Valentine's weekend.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. I've been not relatively busy, not busier than him, but mainly just been dealing with college, then having upkeep on different projects. Like obviously been doing Craig a lot this month really.
Yeah.
Um Other than that, I've also have my other side projects. I've done other Discord bots other than Craig and Taco. Like I have my own bots like one that does with image manipulation, like puts like cool meme text or does whatever, and then another one's just a general purpose Discord bot.
Yeah, and I also because Vac posted your portfolio website, best way I can describe it, and I saw
Right.
the dungeon one, and that was like, oh, that's a really cute idea. I like that.
That was well, that's mainly led by a guy named Mackin who
Mhm.
created it. I'm just
I'm just saying, it's a neat
contributing.
idea. I vibe with the idea, kind of thing.
It's a great idea, and it's still somewhat active in its as the bot is, and I think that has like I don't remember the last time I checked. It's probably over like 30K.
I mean, time is
They've
a
had
flat
their
cir-
pitfalls too, huh?
Oh yeah, they have the pitfalls too. They still don't have slash commands, and I think they're just now getting into that.
Time is a flat circle because that was the first MMOs, weren't they? Text-based kind of things.
Yeah, that was the first text-based MMO Discord bot.
Well,
But,
he
like-
was speaking more generally. Yeah, they did. I mean, if you've ever played one of the earliest games that I played that kind of hits on that, and then this isn't necessarily completely accurate, but like you think back to like the very first Fallout,
Oh yeah.
you know, and you kind of hit closer to that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and they were literally text based. You know, whatever was you had to type the correct things in there to really get a grip of your virtual landscape without any sort of actual visual. And yeah,
Right.
I do think it's technology is amazing in the way that things come back around full circle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like little things of like, you were talking about internet radio station, which is, I have a couple I have bookmarked, and me being me, I like weird retro-y, vintagey, nostalgic kind of thing, so it's a lot of vaporwave, but like, it's just really cool idea. It's just like, oh, it's just a playlist that everybody can listen to at once, and it's just a similar thing. It's just the radio again, but it's easy in the hand.
Internet.
Yeah, it's internet.
Something tells me one of those bookmarks is No Life Radio.
No, actually, hold on. I might actually have to do that. Like, what do I got? I got a Poolside FM, Nightwave Plaza, the Jet Set Radio one.
Oh, I love Jet Set Radio.
Oh, dude, Jet Set
Oh,
Radio
yeah.
is my shit.
I didn't even know.
it's-
I didn't even know that Cool Guy News. I always listen to that one.
Jet Set Radio. Yeah,
I love that because it's like actually tries to make it formatted like the radio station in the game, so it's all the music from the game and also any music that would fit in the game.
Yeah, from I think mainly just Hideki Naganuma tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, no,
Yeah.
I've never listened to the radio. I'm actually really glad you kind of introduced me to that. I'm gonna look it up later. But no, I actually have the full albums downloaded on my phone, and whenever I get into a mood, I'll just spin that up on like my local media player and just listen to the whole album of Jet Set Radio Future.
It is surprising how well that music holds up, how well those games just hold up visually.
Those games, that game, right? Because there weren't too many, even back then, there weren't too many of them that really fit into this type of, like, you know, the soundtrack was the staple. Jet Set Radio Future, that's purely what it was. Even the gameplay was kind of revolving around music, right? But the radio, the playlist, that was the center of it. That was the staple. That's what people know it for, you know? And and it's awesome that even like 2 decades later, it's still a thing. I love it. It's great.
It's so much of a thing that an entire brand new game by an independent company knew they had to get Naganuma back to make the music for their spiritual successor.
Which one is that called?
It's by the people who did Lethal League.
Oh, Team Reptile, right?
Yeah, Team Reptile.
I have both of their games. Lethal League is awesome.
It's, I can't remember what it is. It's
Bomb Funk something.
Cyberfunk.
Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
Yeah,
Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Yeah. Like they just immediately knew. Let's get Naganuma. But yeah, no. Speaking of video games, did you guys watch the Direct?
No.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, when it comes to video games, my spectrum, and I say that lovingly, is limited to a select few at the moment. You'll normally catch me playing League of Legends or Valorant or Tower Unite sometimes. Some Planetary Annihilation. You know, the general theme is MOBA or RTS. Those are where I have a soft spot. Valorant's one of the few FPSs I play.
I've just been in JRPG town.
I'm more of an FPS guy, but I also like I guess kind of party games and games more like Lethal League, where you're like in an arena and you get to do like crazy stuff. I think it's more arena.
Yeah, Lethal League is also a little bit of a fighter, so it's like
Yeah.
things like that are cool and whatnot. I think I have it on my wish list. Like I want to play it, Lethal League and all that kind of stuff.
I've had Lethal League for a good amount of time, and I got Lethal League Blaze like a month ago, and it
Yeah. No, it's really cool that independent game people are going like, you know what? Fuck Capcom.
going back to the basics.
Fuck
Right?
Bamco. We're just gonna make our own fighters.
Well, that's
You
a
know,
great
like-
thing. I mean, you look at, you talk about that shit, and honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is, what the hell was the one that's built off of the Mugen, the Mugen engine, that's Sight, Salty Bet. You know,
Yeah.
you think of sites like Salty Bet that, they make money, they make good money off of it too. But you think sites like that they just take the Mugen engine here, submit your character, have fun watching them beat the shit out of each other. It's just a fucking Twitch stream.
Yeah. They're game
Or Mugen, not Mugen.
games are good in spite of the big AAA dumbasses more so than anything.
Oh sure.
Like-
Well, and then even despite that, right? When you have games like Gary's Mod, right? Gary's Mod is the most prominent example that I can think of, especially in the context that I'm kind of leading into. When you have this extensible framework to really take and make a game mode within a game, I've got a friend of mine who's been working on a project that is basically revolutionizing how a lot of these servers are up right now on Gary's Mod. And it's a full-on, think GTA 5, only it's in Gary's Mod, down to the interactions. And it's like, when you think that kind of stuff is possible, it's like, that's awesome,
Yeah. I mean, I have never been on there, but just hearing people talk about Roblox in that way is like giving people the tools to be creative in that way is always the best option,
Snazzah has played Roblox more than I have. I actively avoid that platform, but that's
I don't like. Okay, so the thing is, yeah, all right. The whole platform, I know it's more like kid centered, but there's a few gems where the quality is surprisingly really good for the engine it's in, and it's actually like a good gameplay loop.
I
But
mean,
most of it other stuff is no.
I mean, isn't the John Romero doing just projects on Roblox?
I'm not sure that is.
He's one of the people who made Doom.
Oh, is he actually?
I don't know. Let me double check. I know he's working on like smaller projects right now, just for, like personal things. Because there was a bit of a time where I was just getting really into like classic Doom and Doom modding, and I was just looking up all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, he's living in Ireland now. This is making for a riveting podcast, looking up something on the internet.
Yeah, but I think the platform itself is the community. I don't deal with the community, but the platform, like the engine itself, is pretty cool. Like you can do some cool stuff with it, and there's some games that actually look nice and play nice.
See, I would never hold the platform to the community that just gets into it, because it's trying to build up a framework, and whoever comes in and uses that framework, I don't think it's a reflection on just the engine itself,
Right.
Well, honestly, and as much as I could say I stay away from the platform because of whatever bias I have on it or mentality, I'm sure at one point the same thing could be, and it still can be, said about Gary's mod, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard horror stories of some Gary's mod servers.
Oh, there's
Oh, yeah.
always going to be a horror story about Gary's mod. That's part of That's part of the attraction,
That's
Yeah.
the lair. Oh man.
But like, no, and honestly, isn't part of the reason like things like that happens just because developers are just like, hey, here's the fucking shit, make something out of it.
Well,
It's not-
ironically enough, Gary's mod went downhill because they kind of tried to rein it in. I only recently got the big full history about everything that happened, but Gary's mod was compared to like maybe a decade ago. Gary's mod is a lot less popular than it was. It is a very much what I would consider a dying game. And a lot of it has to do with the decisions that the actual developers made. They let a lot of things go for so many years and it became a trend, and then they finally reined it in, and oh, well, nobody's happy about it.
Yeah.
And then they tried to double down by forcing it, and now that people just started leaving. Dropped like flies, developers went AWOL, they didn't care, or like community developers went AWOL. They said, well, we're not going to maintain this. And all of a sudden, the quality of half the servers that were on there dropped because none of the plugins were being updated.
That's a shame, especially because like it's not like pure open community. It's still one group of people owning it and just saying, "Nah, fuck off."
The problem is because it ties very closely with Valve, right?
Right.
Valve as a company has not made the smartest decisions over the past 20 years.
From everything I've heard about Valve, just internally, it feels like they kind of let things just get way too loose. From just like, because I was hearing stories about like the reason games weren't being worked on is because they let anybody and everybody just work on whatever they felt interested in at the time.
Oh yeah, no, the internal structure of Valve is an absolute shit show. I know people that work at Valve that'll attest to that. One of my buddies actually basically described the structure of Valve as being, it was along the lines of, I'm the one who's making the smart decisions, so I'm the one in charge until somebody does something online and gets some face, and now they're the ones in charge. It's like they don't have a real structured setup inside the company to really dictate. No, this is actually who's in charge, and this is how it was dictated. It's kind of a free for all.
There's no formality to it. It's very informal.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, what, it took like 10, 15 years for Alex to get made?
Look, the fact that anything in the Half-Life series actually got made after episode 2 is a shock. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad it happened. I really am. But still, I'm like, oh, what the hell? My only hope is that they continue to work on stuff. There were things that were alluded to after episode 2 with things like the Borealis and all that stuff. And, when the literal story writer of Half-Life leaked the entire episode 3 script, and they basically retconned his script when they made Alex.
Yeah.
It kind of goes, what the shit? I would have rather seen them make a game based on that, and actually own up to, yeah, this is what we were gonna do, and just do it, commit to it, So what if it was
the script's
leaked?
already leaked? It'd be cool if like a fan project picked it up on it.
I mean,
it would be.
I'm pretty sure Valve has been open on that, like with Black Mesa.
And then there's also like projects like Hunt Down the Freeman.
Well, you got that. I mean, and then you look at some of the other games that have spawned from Half-Life. I mean, you've got Portal is the one I'm thinking of right now, where you've got like Portal Stories Mel and a lot of these expansions onto the original Portal universe. And there are a few quips of story involved in it, but like Portal Stories Mel, I think was it literally goes into some more detail based around the stories of like Cave Johnson in the original, in like the original Aperture laboratories in the salt mines and shit. which I thought was really cool to see. You weren't interacting with it as much because once you were inside the testing spheres, you're basically just doing what you would normally do, only on a much harder level. But the intro of it was just interesting, right? To see that kind of stuff. That kind of lore always kind of tickles me a bit.
I mean, fan projects in general are always a fascinating, interesting thing to see be worked on, just because you are loving this idea so much that you want to make your own and engage in that conversation. Like the recent Bloodborne PSX.
I've never heard of it.
A group of people basically demade Bloodborne to a PlayStation 1 game.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Warping textures, older cell controls, and all. But
I still play games on the PS1 and PS2 personally. I love it.
PS2 is peak video game because HD, in my personal opinion, going to HD graphics fundamentally fucked over game development to the point where it has not been able to recover, because it just took so much budget, so many people, that game companies took all of the wrong lessons and have just started abusing everybody.
It focuses more on graphics than like actual gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the one example from the Half-Life universe, or from the Half-Life stories, that I was thinking of as far as community projects was Lambda Wars, if you'd ever played it.
That sounds familiar.
Lambda Wars is literally the RTS. It's if you've ever played StarCraft, like original StarCraft.
I have not played StarCraft. My only RTS experience, and I kid you not, is the Little Green Army Men one that was on GameCube.
Okay, so I used to have a GameCube, so I won't knock it, right? But Lambda Wars is, you have a base, you have to build the structures to be able to build more advanced units, and then you send the units out to destroy the enemies, bases, units, etc., while also defending against them. So it's literally a real-time strategy. They're building units always. They're continuously evolving and building more structures. So the goal is for you to basically out-manufacture them and beat them at their own game. It's a multiplayer game. It's really fun. It's just a general good time. That's more of like its own game, But then you also have games like I can't even think of the name of it. But it basically it opened up co-op between the original Half-Life and also Half-Life 2, where you and somebody else could literally go through the story together.
Yeah. That's just the cool part of fans working on things, They go like, hey, here's an idea that wouldn't work for selling a thing, but we want it, so here it is.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'm sad. I don't know what the hell just happened, but I just got a refund from Starlink.
Starlink Battle for Atlas?
No, the internet thing that Elon Musk has been doing.
Okay.
You guys don't know about that?
I know vaguely. I do not keep up with Elon Musk.
Starlink sounds like a name he would definitely, but I don't know what he's been doing a while. I don't really follow his
Starlink is the literal network of satellites he's been launching into space for the last I don't know, 2 years, and he's basically been setting this up for, his ultimate goal is to have internet on Mars, right? But he also has been targeting areas to provide satellite-based internet to Earth, because the satellites talk to each other much faster than like if you've ever had to use HughesNet, which is currently the only satellite internet provider that currently exists. They're overpriced, their speeds are shit, and the biggest thing is the latency is absolutely horrible. So if you want to play any sort of a game with it, good luck.
Putting some competition into it.
Oh, extremely. But I got a fucking refund, and I want to know why. Because I've had a deposit set down, and I don't know what's going on here.
Well, we've been going for a bit. Do you guys want to talk some more? Do you think you guys want to go do the things you need to go do?
You got any more questions about like us generally? Or
Left or right-handed?
Right-handed.
I mean, you've been really forthcoming on a lot of the Craig stuff, a lot of just kind of like how this kind of thing works, which is fascinating to me. Also, you guys seem pretty cool dudes.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So on that, why don't you tell people where they can like contact you, like social media, follow you for different things, if you have anything like that?
My Twitter is Snazzah, and my website's snazzah.com, and go ahead, CoolGuy.
Honestly, Discord's the best way to contact me. I don't really don't get me wrong. If you looked at my Discord, you could see all the accounts that I have shared. But generally Discord is where I'm going to be the most available. So you're better off contacting me specifically about the projects that you're trying to get a hold of me for.
Same for me, but I just have my own things.
Yeah. For any additional insight for Craig, for anybody that was listening, you can find out more by going to craig.chat. That's the primary website. We mentioned Taco. You can go to tacobot.app, and that's where you'll find a lot of the information between those two projects specifically.
Yeah, real quick, because I didn't think about asking this. How can people support Craig and any other projects like this?
Both projects do have a Patreon. I think the Patreon for Craig is
Craig Rec.
Yeah. Patreon.com/Craig Rec, REC.
REC, yeah.
Yep. And any of the tiers there, the tiers literally go from $1 to I think like $8.
Yeah.
So there's not too much, but it all goes basically towards development and into supporting the server itself that runs the bot.
Nice. Hey, Buster, why don't you tell the people where they can find you? Because we're wrapping up. Outros.
Yeah, I barely talked today, but I am Buster Corp. I do video analysis on the internet. You can find me on YouTube at Buster Corp. And if you want to follow me on Twitter for whatever hell reason, you can find me at BusterBlue3.
All right. Howdy, I'm Boingo Writer. You can follow if you want to see streams. Twitch.tv/BoingoWriter. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Boingo_Writer. And as always, you can follow this YouTube channel for podcasts. You can probably find you can find these podcasts on podcasting platforms. In a general sense, look for us, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. It'll help us out. It was really, really nice having you guys around.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I felt like it was a fun conversation. Of course, I was being caveman, going like, "How do sparkler lights work?"
It's nice talking with you.
Yeah, and just open invitation. Hey, if you guys ever want to come back, you're free too. You're free to like, hey, I'd like to be on a podcast. Like,
yeah, it's much appreciated.
Yeah, because I also imagine like projects with this many people, that kind of thing. It's useful to have like little interviews like this to kind of help explain your thoughts,
gain insight.
Yeah. But this has been a modular. I'm turning into Porky Pig. This has been Modular Components, part of Modular Media.